Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa salatu wa salam ala Rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'een amma ba'd. In our previous lesson, or our previous episode, or session, or chamber, whatever you want to call it, we were discussing some of the books that a student of knowledge should have. Some books that are quote-unquote must-haves, or must-reads. Staple books. Any books that any student of knowledge who respects himself and considers himself to be a student of knowledge, a serious student, a Hadith disciple, should have in his library and should have at least looked through, if not read, at least once from cover to cover. First and foremost, the best book with regards to studying, seeking knowledge, and the etiquettes of being a talib ilm is the Quran al-Kareem. There's no doubt about that. The Quran al-Kareem talks about the virtues of knowledge, the obligation of asking Allah for more knowledge, the importance, the obligation, the virtue of calling others and spreading that knowledge, the evil, ugly, black eye of learning and not implementing your knowledge, not practicing what you preach, and the list goes on. The Quran al-Kareem talks about not selling Allah's ayat for a small price. So that's the best book. After that is the Sunnah of the Messenger of Allah, the Hadith of the Rasul, as alhamdulillah we briefly explained and demonstrated in our book on the 40 Hadith on seeking knowledge. Keep in mind, brothers and sisters, those are just 40 Hadith among thousands. And the actual process of putting those Hadith together, organizing them, arranging them, was very, very painstaking. And there were a lot of other Hadith that I wanted to mention, that I wanted to explain, and so on and so forth, but we just chose those. Perhaps we'll come out with a part 2, perhaps. Now, when we talk about the Sunnah of Rasul Sallallahu, most of the books of Hadith, which are from the Jami' class or the Sunan class, have books or chapters on knowledge. Now, in our series on the compilation of the Sunnah, we've explained what a Jami' is in detail, and we've also explained what a Sunan is in detail. So please go back to those classes if you want to know what a Jami' is or what is a Sunan. Sahih al-Bukhari, okay, and the list goes on. From Bukhari on down, most of those books they have Kitab al-Ilm, the book of knowledge. The book of knowledge. It's very, very important for a student of knowledge to read those books. Read Sahih Bukhari, whether it's the abridged version or the full version, and read the book of knowledge from At-Tirmidhi. Read the introduction of Ibn Majah, of Abu Dawood, and the list goes on, okay? But as for books that are mukhassasa, that are specifically written and put together on the topic, then that's what we spoke about before. The book of Ibn Abdul Barr, rahimahullah, there is a summarized version, which it's not that bad. The title, it's not my favorite title or my favorite version, but we'll show you what it is. It's called Sahih Jami' Bayan al-Ilm Fadlihi. The editor of the book, whose name is Abu al-Ashbal al-Zuhayri, after he edited the entire book and he declared a hadith to be authentic, inauthentic, athar, narration from the companions to be authentic or inauthentic, he made what he calls, quote-unquote, a Sahih version. I don't want to get too deep, but the reason why this topic isn't, or the title isn't my favorite, is because if you say Sahih version, so that means the book that Ibn Abdul Barr wrote was da'if, it was the weak version. Okay, Ibn Abdul Barr, rahimahullah, he knew what hadith he put in his book. He did not claim that every hadith was authentic. That was not his intention, that was not his title, that was not his standard, nor his prerequisite. As we've explained this in detail, that many of the ulama of the past, rather most of them, they put weak hadith in their books for a reason, for a purpose. Weak ahadith. Some of them put fabricated ahadith for a wisdom. Okay? And they didn't make it a condition, a shart, that everything in their book is sahih. La, they didn't say that. Most of them did not say that. There were some of the ulama who did do this. Okay? And even some of those ulama, there are hadith that others criticized and said that were still weak. Al-Muhim. The point is that this is an abridged version of the hadith and the athar that the author, and keep in mind, we have to say this, because people that say, oh, this is the Sahih version of Sheikh Fulan and Fulan, that's Sahih to him. That doesn't mean it's written in stone. Okay? We've explained this. It could be authentic to you and weak to the next man, depending on your ijtihad. Alright? Your scientific research. So this is a Sahih version to him. And there's a reason why I'm saying that, because a lot of students of knowledge today, they're very immature, and they've begun to disrespect the books of the ulama of the past. And they say, oh, this is the Sahih version, don't read the Da'if version. Somebody comes 1,000 years later and makes a Sahih version of a classical book. You see the point we're trying to get to. Khair, inshallah. Al-Muhim, regardless of Sahih or Da'if, it is what? At least it's a summarized version of the book. Okay? So that's something that, inshallah, if you want to get, you can get. Now, a book that was written later on, not during that same 5th century, but it's very important, very classical, and I want to give advice to myself and to the students of knowledge and Hadith disciples, is that a Hadith disciple has to have class. You have to be classy when it comes to your books. You can't be a bum, okay? And you have to have good, fine taste for books. What books to buy, what books to read, what books to memorize, what books to study. You must develop this skill. And from those books, when it comes to seeking knowledge and its etiquettes, that is considered to be a very, very classy book, is this book here. One of my favorite books, which is called تذكرة السامع والمتكلم في آداب العالم والمتعلم. Okay, which you could translate or render to mean tadhkirah, benefiting and reminding the listener and the speaker of the etiquettes of the learner and the learned, or the master and the apprentice. Okay, similar to the class we did from Nawawi's book. It's an excellent, stellar book. The author is Al-Imam Al-Qadi Badruddin Muhammad ibn Ibrahim ibn Sa'dillah ibn Jama'a Al-Kinani Al-Shafi'i, who's well known as Ibn Jama'a, rahimahullah. He died in the year 733 of the Hijrah. So he's during that medieval time period, the 8th century of the Islamic Hijrah. Ibn Jama'a, this is a must-have in your library, akhi. A ukhti, whoever, a must-have. Something that you want to have and that you want to read. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. It's a beautiful book. And from the best things about the book is that he talks about, and he makes a strong focus on the heart and the soul, and the importance of purifying and cleansing the filth that may be in your heart or your soul before you seek knowledge. Okay? Very, very, very important book. Another important book, and a book that we've done classes on, alhamdulillah, is another one of my favorite books called Bayan Fadli Ilm Al-Salaf Ala Ilm Al-Khalaf. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. It's the adhan now in Medina. It's the dhuhr time. Which is called, or some people, they don't use the word bayan, Fadlu ilm al-salaf ala ilm al-khalaf. The superiority and the excellence of the knowledge of the prior predecessors over those of the later generations. By one of our favorite authors, Hafidh ibn Rajab al-Hanbali, rahimahullah, who died in the year 795 of the Hijrah. آتي محمد الوسيلة والفضيلة وبعث مقام محمودا الذي بعثه اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على عبدك ورسولك نبينا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. طيب, فضل علم السلف على علم الخلف Ibn Rajab. Alhamdulillah, we've done some classes on it. The book is actually in English. It's been translated years ago. Allah alam, how strong the translation or how thorough it is. And there are many subjects in the book that are technical and need a lot of pondering, and every single everyday reader shouldn't be reading about. However, it's a beautiful book, and it's a very well-rounded book, and you can use it in so many aspects of aqidah, hadith, fiqh, seeking knowledge. The author, as we gave the classes before, he starts off by talking about the categorization of knowledge, is that there's two types of knowledge. There's beneficial knowledge, and there's knowledge which isn't beneficial, and how much knowledge today isn't beneficial. Wala hawla wala quwwata billah, and how many people pump and scream and hurl knowledge which isn't beneficial. May Allah help us all. He talks about that. Then he talks about how the pious predecessors, the Sahaba, and their disciples, how their knowledge was short, strong, potent, and then the things that came later on. Very, very, very important must-read book for the student of knowledge. And they said he's from the 8th century, the end of the 8th century. We'll stop here, whereas it's time for us to get ready to go to the masjid. We took 3 books. Perhaps in our next lesson, we'll take some more books. Maybe we'll talk about some modern books. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala surely knows best. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. My advice to myself and to you, brothers and sisters, once again, student of knowledge, spend money on your books. Don't be cheap. Don't worry about money. Don't fear poverty. And you must have a good taste of books. Take care of your library. بإذن الله subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah knows best.